Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Abhishek and today we are going to dive into one of the fundamental concepts in Python programming, list. Whether you're just getting started out or looking to brush up on your Python skills, understanding lists is crucial because they are one of the most versatile and commonly used data structures in Python. From handling data collections to performing wide range of operations, list can do it all. In this video, we'll cover everything you need to know about the list, from creating and accessing them to modifying and looping through them. By end of this tutorial, you will have a solid understanding on how to work with the list in Python and be ready to apply this knowledge to your projects. So let's get started and explore the world of Python list. Alright, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a list in Python? A list in Python is a collection of items that are ordered and mutable. This means that the items in a list have a specific order and you can change, add or remove items after the list has been created. Think of a list as a sequence of elements, just like a shopping list or a to-do list, right? Each item in the list can be of any data type. It could be numbers, it could be a collection of strings or even other list. Let's look at some examples now. My list equal to 1 2 3 4 5. So here I've created a simple list called my list that contains 5 integers. Let's print it out to see the content. As you can see, the list contains the numbers 1 2 3 4 5 in the order which I have inserted, right? List can also contain different types of data. Let's create a list with a mixed data type now. My xcd, I'll name that as mixed list. I'll insert integer to it. I'll insert string to it. I can also insert floating numbers decimal with the decimals, and we can also insert the boolean values here. I'll print it now. My mixed list, mixed list, right? In this list, mixed list, we have a integer, string, floating number, and also a boolean value. Let's print it out to see the content. So as you can see here, Python list can hold items of different data types all together in one single list. This flexibility makes list incredibly useful. Now you can also create a empty list and add items to it later. Let me show you how. To create an empty list, that's all. This is how we create the empty list, right? I'll print it now. Hmm, Empty list. Okay, and let me add some values to it. Empty list dot append of 10, empty list append of hello, right? And I'll print it after adding elements. Adding means inserting, after inserting element. Empty list. So here I've created empty list. Hmm, We then used append method to add items to it. Let's execute this. and see the content. See, initially list was empty, then we added 10 to it, and then we have added string to it, right? So now it contains two elements. So what we can say is a list is a collection of ordered and mutable elements. List can contain different multiple elements of different data types. You can also create empty list and add items to it later. With this much basic understanding, we can explore more advanced operations with the list. Okay, now we know what is a list and how to create a list, right? Now let's look at how to access elements in a list. You can access elements by their index. Remember, Python uses zero-based indexing, which means the first element has an index 0. So if I need to print 1, that means that is in the index 0 position. So suppose I've created a list, my list and mixed list here. See, first element of my list can be printed like this. My list of 0, 0th index is 1. Second element of a mixed list. Second element of mixed list is hello. It is in second position, right? But index starts from 0, 0, 1. Mixed list of 1. We will get hello. Then last element of a list. So if you want to get the last elements of a list, it is very simple. My list of -1 that can be printed or accessed using the negative indexing. Last, the second element of mixed list 3.142, how to print it? Like this is -1, this is -2. Mixed list of -2. You will get 3.142. Right? You can also access a range of elements in a list using slicing. Slicing allows you to create a new list from a subset of elements. For example, if you want to print first three elements of the list, my list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need to print first three elements 1, 2, 3. How to print it? My list of first three elements. That means first element is 0th index till three elements, right? We will get 1, 2, 3. All right. You can also print first three elements like this. If you don't give any number here, it will consider from the 0th index till third index. Means 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2. 0 is the first index, 1 is the element, 2, 3. Similarly, suppose if you want to print the elements from index 2 to 4, how to do that? My list, I want to get the elements from index 2, till 4, right? Is then till 4. So if you do this, you will not get the correct results because 4 will be excluded here. Means from 2 till 4, 4 will not be considered. So you have to give 5, fifth index. Then you will get 3, 4, 5. Getting it? Then suppose if you want to print the element from index 1 till end, from index 1, that means we should not print this one, we should only get till here. How to do this? Mixed list of from first index, right? From first index till end. No need to give anything. Hello 3.14 false. This is called slicing. Now that we have learned how to create and access list, let's explore how to modify them. Modifying list involves changing the existing elements, adding new elements, and removing elements. Right? You can change the value of existing element in a list by assigning a new value to a specific index. For example, I have a list. Okay, I'll print it. This is my original list. Okay, suppose I change my list first index. I'll put a value 10. Okay, now I'll print it. List after changing the second element. It could be second element or the first index, right? I'll print it now. So this is my original list which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've changed the second element. That means the second element is in the first index, right? To 10. Now we have changed the second element of my list from 2 to 10. You can also add elements to a list in several ways, right? There are some methods in Python. We can use that method like append, insert, extend, and add elements to a list. Let's use append method. Okay. Now my list dot append of 6. So list after appending the value 6. Let me print it. See. So append methods adds an element to the end of the list. Got it? So we can make use of insert method as well. So my list dot insert of, so insert method, we can make use of insert method to add an element at a specific position in a list. So second position I need to add a. Okay, so print list after inserting a at index 2. Now I'm printing the list. Yeah. See, at the second index 0, 1, 2, I've inserted a. Second index inserted a. Similarly, there is one more method we can use, extend. My list dot extend of 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now I'll print the element list after extending with the list 7, 8, 9. My list. Now it becomes 7, 8, 9 is added at the end of the existing list. Got it? You can remove elements from a list using remove method. Let me show how to remove elements. My list is having this many elements. I'll remove a from my list. Let me print after removing a. Right. See, is removed. Suppose now that I have removed A, if I try to remove the elements which is not present in my list, what we will get? We will get a value error. Got it? Next way to remove elements from a list is using pop method. So my list dot pop of, suppose I need to remove the element by index. So this accept the index value. Okay, and the removed index I can save it into one more element. Okay, let me print it. List after popping element at index 3, right? My list. I'll just print it, and similarly I'll print which element it has removed. Pop element. So at index 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 was there. That element has been removed now. So which element it has removed? 4. Got it? Remove method accepts the value of the list element, right? But pop method accepts the index as a parameter, and it will remove the index. Suppose I need to, suppose I gave my list pop of 100th index. We don't have 100th index here. What we will get? We will get index error. Simple. Next way to remove element from a list is using delete method. Let me show. Delete my list of 2. This also removes an element by index. Okay, so I've gave second index. So second indexed element will be removed. List after deleting element at index 2. My index. Mm, my list. Let me print it now. So 0, 1, 2. 3 is the element at the second index that has been removed now. Okay. Suppose now I gave 200, means 200th indexed value I need to remove. What we will get? We will get index error, same list assignment, index out of range error. Alright. So what we have learned now is we have learned how to add elements using append, insert and extend method. How to remove elements using remove, pop and del method. Now that we have learned how to modify list, let's explore some common operations you can perform on list. This includes slicing and other built-in methods. Slicing allows you to create a new list from subset of elements. You can specify the start of the index, end of the index, and an optional step. Right? Suppose I have a list here. It contains 5 elements from 0 to 9. Uh, so if I need to get a list, or if I need to print the elements, list of elements from start the slice object at 0th position and slice to the position 5. That means slicing from the start index till means to the index 5. Then we have to write like this: from my list of 0th index to 5th index. So I'll get the result like this: zeroth index, first index, second, third, fourth. So till fourth index I'll get. Okay. So if you mention 5 here, that means not till 5, means 5 will not be included. The index which is before the index specified, that value will be returned. Got it? Similarly, slicing from index 3 to end. Slicing from index 3 to end. How to do that? This is the start index and this is the end index. We don't know end index, so colon. And if you don't mention anything, it will consider till end. My list of 3 colon, right? You will get all the elements starting from the index 3 to the end. And slicing with a step of 2. That means my list colon colon 2. If you give like this, use the step parameter to return every second item. That means I'll print 0. I'll print the second item, not the first item. 2, I'll print the second item, not the first item. That means after 2, the second item is 4. After 4, the second item is 6. After 6, the second item is 9. Got it? Similarly, slicing from index 2 to 8 with a step of 2. That means I'll now start printing the elements from the index 2, 0, 1, 2 to 2, 8. That means still here with a step of 2. That means 2, 4, 6. Got it? This is how slicing works. Now let's see the common list methods. Python provides several built-in methods and that makes the working of list very much easier. Let's look at some of the most commonly used ones. Okay, so same way, like I'll consider a list here. Okay, this is my list. So suppose I need to find the length of the list. So we have a method length, len of my list. This is a method to print the length of a list. So 11. Got it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The length of my list is 11. Similarly, if you want to find the minimum value, min of my list, 1. 1 is the minimum value. Similarly, maximum value. Got it? And suppose I need sum of list. Sum of my list. So if you add everything, you will get 44. Okay. Next method is mylist dot index of 5. So if you want to know which element is present, uh, means like finding the index of the first occurrence of the element, right? So 5 is present in the fourth index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 is present in the fourth index. So if you want to find out where 1 is present, similarly is mylist dot index of 1. Got it? 1. So 1 is present in the first index. So index of first occurrence of an element, you can get it. Similarly, there is a method called count. Count. Okay, counting the occurrence of elements. Suppose if you want to know how many times the fire occurred in that list. 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Got it? And if you want to sort it, sort the list, you can use sort method. Hmm? Then my list. See, the list is sorted. Okay, suppose if you want to reverse it, there is one method to reverse it as well. Dot reverse and my list. Now I've reversed it. And the in slicing also we can do, means we can use slicing to reverse the list. Suppose now my list is like this. I want to reverse it. That is simple. Colon colon minus 1. See, only difference is if you use my list dot reverse, the reverse will be happening on the same list. So if you print my list after reversing, you will see the new list, that is the reversed list. But in case of slicing, right, if you do this and suppose if you print my list again, Got it? That will be in the original form. The changes will not be reflected. So if you want to reflect that change, uh, you can create a new list. New list equal to my list of colon comma minus 1. Okay, now you just print new list. I've reversed it. So these are all the common methods which we use in list. Let's explore how to loop through list. Looping or iterating through a list allows you to perform actions on each element of the list. There are several ways to loop through a list in Python. Like we can use for loop, we can use while loop, like that. The most common way to loop through a list is by using for loop. Let's see how this works. Right. Suppose I have a list named fruit, right? And I'll use for loop to iterate over each element of these fruits. How to do it? Like this. For fruit in fruits, print fruit. Okay. So here we have iterated each element and print the value of it. Okay. Sometimes you need the index of each element while looping through a list. Okay. At that time we can make use of a function named enumerate, which allows you to loop through a list and get both the index and the value of the element. So we can use enumerate like this. The example is enumerate of fruits. Fruits is a list. Print hmm, index will be the index. This value I'm just printing. Similarly, I'll print the fruit name. This is the fruit variable. So we use enumerate to get both the index and the value of each element of the fruits list, right? The next way to iterate is by using while loop. You can also use while loop to iterate through list, but this method is less common, but can be useful in certain situations. Let me give some example here. 0 while I less than length of fruits, hmm, print fruits of I plus 1. Here we use while loop to iterate through fruits list, printing each element until we reach the end of the list. Okay, now the length of the fruit is 4. So initially I will be 0, 0 less than 4, true. I'll print fruits of I. Fruits of 0 is apple. I'll increment the value I value, then it will become 1. Then I'll print the second element, third element, fourth element, and the length will next it will become 5. 5 not equal to 4. Then while loop breaks, right? Now let's see few more examples and best practices for writing the list, for using the list in Python. See, we copy a list, one list to another list, right? So normally what we'll do, suppose original list is 1, 2, 3. Okay, original list is copied to a copied list, right? Now I'm adding 4 to the copied list. What is expected is like the original list should remain 1, 2, 3, and the copied list should be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But let me execute this. See, original list also gets affected by this copying method. Got it? So using equal to copy a list results in both variable pointing to same list. So if you change copied list, original list will also be changed, right? So what we can do, the correct way is to use the copy method to copy a list. Let me show you now. So the original list dot copy of, this is a method which I've used to copy this original list to a copied list. Now I am adding 4 to the copied list. Now let's execute and check. See, original remains the same. The copied list will be having a new element 4 to it, right? Let us learn about list comprehension. List comprehension can be used for looping, especially when you want to create a new list based on the element of an existing list. It provides a concise way to create a new list based on the existing ones and makes your code more concise and readable. So we'll see how to compute the square of each element in a list using both traditional loop and a list comprehension. This will help you understand the difference and appreciate the simplicity and power of a list comprehensions. Right. So first let's see how to calculate square of each element using a traditional for loop. Okay. I'll create a list numbers with this 5 elements. Right. If I want to get the square of these elements, what we have to do? Right. For num in numbers, uh, squares, I have to create a new list which holds the square of the number. Square dot append of, for each number I'll be squaring it. Got it? Right. Then I will print the square using for loop. I'll print the square list. So 1, 4, 3, 3 into 3, 9, 4 into 4, 16, square of 5 is 25. Right, this is how we'll use traditional for loop to get the squares of those list elements in the list. Right, in this example, we initialize an element list square. We then loop through each element in the numbers and we calculated the square. We appended that new calculated value to a square element. Right, now let's create a same program using list comprehension. Right, so in list comprehension, how we have to do is simple. We have to enclose the calculations, the loop with the list. So for num in numbers, so for every element in numbers, here what we are doing, we are calculating the square of that number and then appending it to a new list, right? So here what we'll do is num into 2 and we'll create list comprehension list. Okay, let me print it now. Squares using list comprehension. See, we get the same value, but we have reduced the number of the codes. In this example, hmm, num square for num in numbers is the list comprehension that generates a new list of square number. So it's in a single line. It's a single line of code that performs same task as loop. right? So traditional way, it requires more lines of code and manual management of new list. So here creating a new list here. In list comprehension, it is more concise. Often like it is easier to read, right? They reduce the amount of code you need to write. They make your code cleaner, easier to understand, and it's also efficient.
Few best practices to keep in mind when working with list in Python are use enumerate for index and value. It makes it easy to get both index and value while looping through the list. Right? You'll get index and the value. Use built-in functions for common operations. So built-in functions like sum, max, min, length, count are efficient and make your code more readable. They are optimized for performance. Yeah, it makes your code run faster. Using them reduces the likelihood of error. Ensure more consistency in your code, making your code easier to maintain and understand. Right? Then use of list comprehensions. Use of list comprehension makes your code more concise and more readable. Right?
We have reached the end of our video on Python list. Let's quickly recap what we have learned today. In this video, we have covered introduction to list, right? Understanding what lists are and how to create them, modifying the list, how to add, remove, access the element in a list operations, slicing a list, using built-in methods from a list, looping through the list, some examples and the best practices. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you all so much for watching. Happy coding and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.